Okay, so this is the third of these videos that I'm making and uploading. I talked a bit in the first one about, my reasoning for starting this channel and who I was hoping to reach. And specifically, as I watched this presidential election cycle play out and Trump get elected, and then watched the inauguration, and more broadly, over the past decade, 2 decades, watching the way that men of all ages and young men on algorithm-based online platforms, social platforms, the things that men have been expressing in terms of what the experience is, what I have experienced being a man these days to be, how difficult it is to, how impossible it is to satisfy the expectations placed on you in our society, and to do so in a way that, while also living in a way that's authentic to yourself. But I guess as I've been thinking about what it is about the way that I live that I want to offer up through these videos, I've realized that actually much of it is not stuff that only, I think, men of all ages and young men who've been wounded by the way that our society treats them, I don't think they're the only ones struggling with this stuff, and I don't think that they are probably the only ones who could find something of value in what I'm talking about here. So I guess what I am saying is these videos are for whoever might find them useful. I relinquish any attempt at controlling, or not that I was ever going to try to control it. The idea is to let the algorithm do its thing, and whoever might find and connect with these videos is welcome to. I'm just going to share how I... You guys get it. All right. So what am I talking about today? I guess I was thinking hypothetically about a young man, any number of young men in the world, who might be confused about, oh, I'm a man, I'm expected to be masculine, or I feel a pressure to be masculine, and yet inside, I don't say it to anybody, but I have these certain feelings or these certain things that I want to do, and they're feminine. Oh, is that allowed? Are men supposed to be feminine? Are men supposed to be masculine? Like, being lost in that way. And then the counterpart to that being, a young woman out there, or a woman of any age, man, woman, any age, whatever. A feminine person out there in the world feeling the pressure for her body to look a certain way, for her behavior to be a certain amount of unobtrusive and polite and accommodating and yada, yada, yada. And yet, potentially inside, feeling inclinations or whatever that are societally determined to be masculine things. Is that okay? So, short answer, yes. Don't worry so much. The short answer is, don't worry so much about being a man or a woman the way that people outside of yourself, that you perceive the external world to want you to be a man or a woman. Don't worry about satisfying external standards or expectations of masculinity or femininity. just try to focus on getting better at following your compass of who you are. And the gender identity that you might assign on that society might assign on that, I don't know. It's, let people say what they want. Control what you can control, you know? All you can control is, am I doing what I want to do? Am I doing what my moral compass tells me I should do? Other people will disagree. Inevitably. They may be right or wrong, you know? Receive whatever feedback you get and discard it if it feels wrong to you, and try to take it into account if it seems wise. In terms of my personal, you know, I have pretty frou-frou spiritual beliefs, I guess, lately. And I definitely do not want in these videos to be imposing, you know, I want these videos to be free of my personal spiritual perspective on questions like this, or not free of it, but I definitely am not trying to, I'll offer it up. I'm not trying to force anyone to take up, but you know, when you get into the spiritual, that's hardly what we in society agree is objective fact. So I'm going to talk a bit about masculinity and femininity as energies, maybe, that exist within everybody, right? But I just want to be clear, this is a spiritual belief that I hold. Take it or leave it. But, you know, I think it's pretty zeitgeisty lately, this idea gender is a spectrum. I think that that's a good way of looking at it. You have your own unique coordinates on that spectrum. This is why I was kind of trying to say, like, man, woman, whatever gender you might assign, you know, you might choose to identify yourself as, or other people might try to identify you as. It's a broad category, and you have your own unique coordinates in a, you know, in a spectrum that has many axes of variation. You exist somewhere, coordinates that are unique to yourself. Masculine and feminine are ways that we describe certain traits, behaviors, habits, hobbies, ways of presenting oneself, etc., 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 that any human can have any combination of those things. So, to get back to the video, to the question from the beginning of the video, if I'm a man, is it okay? Am I allowed to be a man and be feminine? I would say not only are you allowed, like, of course you're going to be feminine sometimes. Sometimes you're going to feel in your feminine energy. It will. I'm getting frustrated at you. Sometimes you'll feel in a feminine energy because you will have reached a point with whatever it is that you're dealing with where you don't want to go be the pursuer. You know, we view the pursuer as the masculine role, right? And the pursued as the feminine role. This is separate from genders and men and women, right? You know, sometimes you won't want to go out and pursue, and sometimes you'll want to sit and let things come to you, and then be in the position of either accepting them or turning them down or whatever. That's a feminine energy. Sometimes you will have a friend who's going through a hard time, and you'll want to sort of, I don't know, sit with them and comfort them. Think of it in terms of what we associate with mothers and fathers, right? Or like father, son, mother, moon. Father, son, brutal, like powerful, right? Mother moon, gentle, restorative. God, I'm getting real frou-frou, aren't I? Most, I guess the stereotype of what role a father plays in one's life versus what role a mother plays in one's life. Dad is the hard ass. He'll yell at you. He'll, push you into sports and want you to excel at that. And then mom is like the soft, caretaker, like, oh, you're upset. Come here. Let me, again, stereotypes. Many exceptions in when human beings actually interact with each other. Many, many, many exceptions. But back to what I was saying about like every human is sometimes in a masculine or feminine energy. If your friend is upset and you're sitting with them, helping them navigate their emotions, that is something that you could describe as a feminine energy to be in. Similarly, if you are a woman and you want to do something like be outspoken or train really hard in some sort of athletic discipline or, go start the conversation with that person you think is cute. Like the world, you don't need me to tell you this. They'll tell you that you're acting out of place as a woman because that's a masculine energy and you should be more feminine or whatever. Nonsense, obviously. But just to say that, like, spectrum, masculine and feminine energies, they exist in all people. Just be authentic to yourself. The world will want to label you a lot of things when you're following your own compass rather than being so concerned with the standards and expectations that others are placing on you and people pleasing every little person that's going to impose an expectation on you.